Okay, today we're looking at yet another change point. In the next few days or week or so, I'm going with the markets in topsy-turvy, as I mentioned last video. I'm going to go through my little Kama Sutra of change points and various early warning detection systems. Believe me, actuaries have quite a lot. You know, when you're I'm not an actuary, I'm just trained myself, but if you're worried about a typhoon or a hurricane and your company's got billions of dollars riding on it, you're pretty worried. And I haven't got billions of dollars riding on the stock market, but I think a few people have got a few quid in there, and I think my advice, it's not advice, I don't give advice, my analysis of the situation may provide insights to some to come to their own conclusions. Anyway, this is a use of a library which I've never shown before, but I'll get into it. I don't use TidyQuant in this. I use QuantMod. I don't use FBasics. I don't think I use TSBox. I use ECP, which stands for Extreme Change Point, I think, but it's a change point detection library by David Madison from some university, and Urdu Wang, I think is the name, that programmed it, and there was another co-author of the library. I don't know why I've got TidyQuant and Tidyverse, time date, who knows. I just run them anyway. I've X'd out the library here. This is just a quick thing. I've got, from 2019, I've got QQQ being as a proxy for the NASDAQ index, which is the primary one that most people are invested in, with Apple, Microsoft, Google, all the big stocks that take up 30% of the market. Basically, you want to see if they're going to dive, because if they go, we're all in it. That's just a standard QuantMod chart, which is not run very often. It shows around 222, there was a lot of volume, which reached a peak, and then it dropped down again. It's pretty quiet at the moment. Volume's quiet, which means there's a lot of people staying on the sidelines. They're unsure. Anyway, we'll run. Oh yeah, I do use FBasics. I run one of their his plots from. You need to convert theirs to time series data, and I do use TSBox. That's TSBox time series conversion. His plot, there's a chart. It's a nice chart, isn't it? The area under the graph, the normal curve placed over it, you can see that it's well leptokurtotic with wide tails well outside a normal curve. Fat tails, peaked leptokurtic, peaked kurtosis, you know, well above the normal curve's bell shape. And we do a box plot from the R-metrics team as well, which is interesting. And you can see that on the upside, there's a lot of outliers. And the mean is a big mean from about 0.3 to 0.3, minus 0.3 to upside 0.3. And that is the middle. Probably about -1 to +1. And on the downside, it goes down below -10, I think, to about -14. And that's only since 2019. Well, there was a bit, that would have been the big crash in 2020. I forgot about that. I didn't forget, but I should have moved the date forward. And we'll load the Performance Analytics library to get their histogram charts. They're quite interesting. That's their chart with their modified VAR and VAR, which is variance at risk. The variance at risk is about 3%, I'd say. It's hard to gauge from a graph. And we'll do a series of their charts showing all their features. That's their basic chart, the one we showed before. That's the one with the normal curve overlaid and the density curve which fits the actual chart. You can see the density curve is way fatter tails. That's a skew and kurtosis. That's the normal curve, that's a kurtosis, and it's skewed to the right. So it's skewed to the upside with a big downside. And that is the risk measures, the VAR. Now we'll move on to see what the actual conditional variance at risk is. It's 0.498, almost 5%. So yeah, this conditional variance and the modified variance at risk and the variance at risk is a lot less than the actual conditional variance at risk, which is still a lot less than the extreme quantile variance at risk, which is not actually in this series of charts, but I have more which I may do later. XRRQQ, let's see. I'm just turning this data into a table to show the cumulative frequency and cumulative sum. I'm putting it into a stargazer table because it looks nice. You can also put it into just a plain tibble out and run it from that. The tibble out shows it more like a stem and leaf plot on the frequency and cumulative frequency. This is just a formatted table. It doesn't look so much like a stem and leaf plot. It shows that the data goes from minus 12.8 with 0.001% frequency to an upside of 0.0815 with a cumulative frequency of 0.003% or 0.3%, and that's 0.1%. And the most common, the mode, or the median, or the, I'd say it'd be the median, is from minus 0.6% approximately to 0.117%. No, 0.117%. There's 1,255 of those, and there's 850, a frequency of 850, and a cumulative frequency of 0.55 of the data at that point. So over half the data is accumulated by that point. The next step up is only 16%, and it drops down again. And you can see the frequencies there. And anyway, we'll move on to library ECP. I've been testing a few other methods this morning. I've always used this method, the freak method, the E-divisive method. Takes a long time to run. I don't know whether I should wait and let it run or just... We can go down and see the results, I think. You can see the results, better wait. Let's move forward. Let's see to find out. I have to edit this out of the 2020, that was just before the global financial crisis crashed. So I think it was the 24th, so I gave you a few days notice. Not much, but it was warning. It gave you warning that the market was, again, in April, having trouble. I know February was an early warning signal. April was when it actually happened. I think around the 7th was when it actually happened. And that was when quant easing kicked in, and the market went giant. Oh no, that's still downside. It doesn't have the, where's the quant easing? It doesn't have the quant easing in this one. It did have in the SPY. SPY was affected by the quant easing going up. Doesn't appear to have happened in the QQQ. In 2023 we see, around when quant easing was ending, we see the market was in a tailspin going up. It should be reflected in the chart. The downside extreme was nearly 13%, the upside was 8.13. Let's have a look at the TS index. (2019) was 1, 1.3, 1.6, 0.4, 0.33, 0.33. Oh, that's just scaling all the way up from the days. It's just a head thing. Now we'll do the graph. That's the end. That's today. The last known occurrence was 800 days, 733 days. No, 1,043 days, sorry. What date was that? That was the (2021) on the 11th of 26. So for the extreme change point, now this is not the Shirayevs or the BCP. They are far more sensitive change points. This is for extreme, like cataclysmic crashes. We haven't got to a cataclysmic crash warning indicator yet, but we have got change points that are extreme disturbances in the mean already for the Nasdaq. So that's just a warning. I'm working with the Aglo sim. I can't get a decent result with that yet, and I won't run that. And I'm working with dynamic CP30 dynamic programming one. I won't run that because I'm not familiar with it. Maybe sometime later I'll come back. Now I'll move down to, I found by chance that I had BCP and I just run it. I run it from my, it no longer runs in Cran R native libraries. I run it from my GitHub account and it runs in its native format now. I modified it and I showed in a video a month or a couple of months ago, but you can run it in its native format, as we will show. Let's see what else I've missed here. Oh no, there's nothing there. I'm not sure what that is. I think that's just a time series plot. We'll run the BCP plot. And that's it up until today. It shows that the Bayesian change point warning as of today is up around the 80% mark. So yeah, there is a warning of quite a bit of trouble. And the posterior means and probabilities, it's different to mine. Mine just showed the mean without the stock chart. This shows the stock chart in dots with the mean overlaid. And the mean is definitely veering down. So there is a notice of a change in the underlying structure. As was shown by the IWM, Charade of Roberts the other day. But I'm not going to run that again for the QQQ, not just at the moment. I'll get this video out first. We'll see what else we've got here. That's the posterior means. You can see at each time the mean of the series. The series is the less coloured dots. The dark black is the mean, overlaying the period for a cluster of prices. The posterior variance. You can see the variance around 0, and you can see the extreme variances moving up. See, the variance has moved up quite a bit today, quite a bit recently. Is that yesterday and that today? I'm not sure. And we'll plot the posterior probability. Is that the posterior? Oh, posterior probability looks the same. Let's see, is that the same as the variance? Very similar to the variance. Posterior probability is not as high. It's about just over 20. Oh no, it is up to about 80, roughly about 80%. I think that precedes that. It's a bit of a warning zone.